Okay, everyone, this is Brian Lyles down there from Philadelphia, guys. Thank you for actually, looks like a ton of people are early. We appreciate that. And welcome to our Alpha Network Marketing Training installment, I guess, number 3, if I can remember correctly here. We're going to actually go through some cool stuff today, though. So what I do want to say is take this let's just take a minute or two. I had a couple of people tell me that they didn't get the text message for some reason. So let's take a minute or two. If you got some people in your team you're expecting to be here, send them a quick text. If you did get the text message that allows you to register, send them a quick, just forward that text message to them. We'll give them about 2 minutes to jump on. Then we are going to get started. Going to be a really cool training tonight. Going to be talking about exposures and how it works as part of the recruiting process and some of the things that we diagnosed that maybe some people could do a little bit better, a little bit different, let's just say. So just some of the 1%ers, again, that I think are going to be really, really helpful to helping you guys explode your business. So let's take a minute or two here and reach out to those people that you're expecting to be on. Make sure they've got the text message, they've got the information, and then we will be getting started, guys. Thanks for being here. And for those of you that are jumping on now, guys, welcome to the Alpha Network Marketing Training. We are going to be getting started here in just a moment or so. Just giving some people some additional time to jump on so they don't miss anything. So we're starting to see people coming down from all around North America, so we appreciate you guys. Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. You're going to want to take some notes here, as always. So if you have any questions or if you have any feedback you want to provide at the end of it, we definitely welcome it. So guys, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. We'll be getting started here in just a minute or so. Thanks. All right, fantastic, everyone. Let's get started. Thank you for being here, guys. Definitely appreciate you hopping on and being a part of this training series that we've been doing. Also, just want to say in advance, 100% love the feedback that we've been getting from you guys. It helps us kind of hone in on some of the topics that you want to see, or maybe just some of the angles on some of the topics that you want to see to understand what's going on. It also lets us know if you understand the information that we're going through or not. And how it's actually helping you out there in the field and building your team. So that's awesome. I do want to say for those of you that are on right now, listen, we got a surprise for you tomorrow. So definitely make sure you're checking your emails good and early tomorrow for something that we're actually rolling out that I think is going to be really helpful for you guys over the next week or so. Hopefully for those of you that are in the United States, you really did enjoy your holidays. I hope you actually got a chance to spend some time with maybe family and friends that you don't get to see all the time. And hopefully you shared Alpha with them, talked about some of your experiences, talked about how great the products are, et cetera, and maybe even generated some interest. And that's what we're really going to talk about today, is really just this idea of exposing people. And again, some of the things that we see that people are doing that where maybe if they could make a 1% change here or 1% change there, it would make a big, big, big difference in their business. So let's get started here. As a recap, I told you guys I'm going to show this at the beginning of every single training that we do because I know we've constantly got new people who are coming on board, and just this whole idea that success in MLM multi-level marketing is when you get a large group of people, when you're able to teach them some simple tasks, have them repeat those tasks consistently over a reasonable period of time. Large group, simple tasks, repeat it consistently over time. That is the tried and true formula for success in MLM network marketing. And a lot of times when people aren't being successful, it's because they're violating some of these things. They aren't being consistent. They're keeping it too complex. They're not really putting things in place that get people to want to stick around over time. But again, I want to make sure everybody gets to see this so it just becomes drilled in your head over and over and over and over again until eventually if somebody says, hey, how do you become successful in network marketing? You can just spit it right off the top of your head. Hey, it's when you get a large group, teaching some simple tasks, showing them how to repeat them consistently over time. That's when you're going to become successful. That is when we know that this is actually sinking in. Now, as a recap, last week, we really talked a lot about sorting. And for those of you who weren't here, again, we've sent out this training in one of the newsletters, so I would encourage you to go watch it. But we talked about how you sort people, not just after they've been exposed, but even before you're exposing them, how if you can sort them into the proper category, if you know that they're your red, your green, or your blue. So if somebody you look up to, somebody who's your peer, or someone who looks up to you, you have these slight little shifts, these slight little 1% shifts in what you say and how you approach them that give you a better chance of actually getting their interest. If you know they're a whale, shark, dolphin, or urchin, we call it the 4 fish system, then you're going to actually approach them slightly differently. You'll talk to a whale like a whale because they're all about helping people. If it's a shark, you're going to actually make sure you're more focused on money. If it's a dolphin, you're going to be more focused on fun. If it's an urchin, you're going to be more focused on information. I did get got a bunch of feedback about this training, but one of the questions I got, and I want to make sure I answered on this call, is someone said to me, well, man, I love that 4 fish system, but it seems perfect if you know the person, because you know their personality, if they're a whale, shark, dolphin, or urchin, and you know how to approach them. But what if it's someone that you don't know? And, you know, there's a lot of ways to answer that question, but, you know, for me, my favorite thing to do when I'm talking to someone and I'm not really sure because I don't really know them that well, if they're a whale, shark, or dolphin, or urchin, I ask them this question, and I say, listen, let me ask you a question. I want you to really think about this answer. If you hit the lottery tomorrow for $50 million, what would you do? And their answer to that question will right away tell me if they're a whale, a shark, or dolphin, or urchin. You know, a whale starts talking about how they're going to start building community centers in their neighborhood and donating money to the church and to all their favorite charities. A shark says, you know, 50 million is a great start, but I'm going to have to put together my investment team because now I've got the platform to become a billionaire. You know, a dolphin says, I'm going to quit my job right away. I'm going to go out and buy a red Ferrari for me and my 5 closest friends. You know, we're going to actually go get on a private jet, fly to an island and party until all the money's gone. You know, and an urchin says, hey, listen, there's no way I would ever play the lottery. The odds of hitting the lottery are between slim and none, and I would never waste my time. What do you think? I'm stupid. So ultimately, the answer to that question lets me know right away if they're a whale, shark, dolphin, or an urchin. And now I know how we're going to approach that person. So I wanted to make sure I answer that question, but I also wanted to say this, guys. We're going to kind of continue this theme of really what you're doing when you're exposing people, because I think that is the critical place where the rubber really meets the road for building a business. You know, a lot of people struggle with this. You know, they don't know exactly how to expose people, what they should be doing with people, how to approach them, how to get people's attention. I've witnessed some things, and I'm going to talk about some of those things personally when I've been out on different events or different trips with Alpha distributors, and I see them what they have that awkward encounter when somebody's saying, hey, what are you guys doing? And they don't know how to really respond to that person. So I want to save you guys a little bit and kind of let you know, just give you some advice of what the experts do, some of the best recruiters in the world, and what they really understand about this business and why it gives them the ability to be able to go out there and be successful. Now, I know a lot of you guys, your goal is to get here, is to have your business get to a point where it can go viral. But the reality is that all of that is going to start with you. It has to start somewhere, right? So before you have a business that's growing all across your city or your state or your country or your continent or your hemisphere or the world, it has to start with you. And there's 4 phases of the business that we talk about that you can find yourself in this business. Phase 1 is recruiting and selling. Recruit and sell. You know, that's phase 1. And everybody knows what this is. This is when you're out and you're finding new distributors and you're actually finding new customers. And that's phase 1 of the business. So if you ever hear me say, hey, are you in phase 1? That's what we're referencing, is are you out actively, aggressively, you personally, not your team, you personally out recruiting and selling? Are you constantly looking for new distributors, constantly looking for new customers? I hope you are. Phase 2, though, is the management phase. You know, this is where you get a few people in your team and you're like, oh, I've got a few people. I've got a team now. I got to be a leader. So let me start managing my team. Let me start making sure that these guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I want to make sure that they're recruiting and they're selling, that they're plugging in, that they're doing this and they're doing that. So that's kind of going to take me out of, you know, what I'm supposed to be doing on phase 1. But that's okay, because now I'm managing my team. Phase 3 is when you start managing your managers. You know, you manage your managers. So now you've got a few people who've got a few people, and you get into this mode of, wow, you know, I've got a few who've got a few. So, you know, I don't have time to reach out to everybody. So let me just talk to my handful of managers, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing with their people. And now we're going to really have something going. And then finally, phase 4 is what they call overseeing, right? Where you've got a team that's starting to grow and you're excited and you feel like you're on easy street now. You can put your feet up. You know, every morning you're going to wake up, you're going to call your guys who are managing their managers and basically tell them what to do. Say, listen, if you need anything, if anything big or important happens, that's when you call me, because I'll take care of it. Otherwise, you guys handle all the little trivial little stuff that happens on a day-to-day basis, and I'll just sit back and collect a check, right? And that's overseeing. And I know there's a lot of people who that's what they dream about, you know, and they're like, man, I just want to be in the overseeing mode. That's what I'm looking for. Guys, here's the reality of the business. And I want to make sure this is clear to you. If you really are looking to build a big business, the only phase you should ever be in ever is phase 1. That's it. You should always be in recruit and sell mode. That's where you should always be mentally. That's where you should always be physically. That is what is going to allow you to have big success, is being in this mode of recruiting and selling. Always be in phase 1. So you're going to hear me say that a lot. You'll hear some of the other leaders say it a lot. Hey, you're out of phase 1. You're out of phase 1. You're out of phase 1. This is what we're talking about. There's nothing more depressing to me than when I see someone who has 5 or 6 people in their team and they say, I can take my foot off the gas because now I can just manage my people, and I got to make sure I provide all the training for them and the leadership stuff for them and all this kind of stuff to get them going. And you are out of phase 1. You are going to die in this business. Here's why. The entire business of network marketing is about these 2 things: attraction versus attrition. It's people coming in and there's people leaving. Here's what I want to tell you guys right away. There are always going to be people that are leaving. No matter how great your product is, your company, your compensation plan, your leadership, your management, your timing, it does not matter. There's always going to be people leaving for a whole bunch of different reasons. Some of them, you know, are based in the real world. Some of them are psychological. Some of them are based off of people's timing. Some of the people never wanted to be in the first place. It doesn't matter. It's personality differences, whatever. There's always going to be people leaving. The best companies in the world, you show me the very, very best network marketing company in the world who has the most amount of distributors in it, and I promise you they had thousands and thousands and thousands of people leave today. That's just how the business goes. So what you're constantly doing is you're battling the attrition with attraction. You know, while people are leaving, you've got new people coming in. And ultimately, for you to build a long and successful business, you're always interested in attraction. You don't focus, you don't major in the minor, as they say. You don't focus on attrition, you're focused on attraction. If you stop focusing on attraction, though, guess what? Attrition still occurs. So now you have nobody coming in and you have people leaving. That is a formula for death in the business. So just so you guys are clear, this is why you're always in phase 1. This is why you're always talking about recruiting. We say new blood is the lifeblood. It's what keeps your business vital, what keeps it exciting, what keeps it moving and growing, and ultimately what keeps it highly profitable. So that's why this is so important. So you can't control recruiting. That's what every single expert in the industry knows. Everybody making a massive, massive check in this industry, and the people who've ever made a massive check, they understand that they can't control recruiting. The reason why is because you can do everything right. And I'm sure you guys have experienced this before, where you feel like I did everything that they told me to do. I approached the person like this. I just like this. I let them watch this particular video. I followed up with them in this particular timely matter. I did, you know, I asked them what did they like best. They told me I did everything they told me to do, and the person still said no. Right? So, man, this thing doesn't work, or it's not working for me. And here's the reality. You can't control recruiting because you can never control the timing for that person that you're attempting to recruit, for that prospect. That sometimes the timing is just not right. Now, the cool thing is it may be right tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. So a lot of those no's can become yeses later, but you can't control recruiting. So what you can control are exposures. That's what you can control. The one thing you can control very, very easily is what it is that you do, you know, what you're focused on. And if you're focused on exposures, if you have enough exposures, then everything else will work itself out. That's how the business works. So the suggestion for me always is that you do 1 to 3 exposure a day. You know, a few exposure a day. I really tell people 3, but I know sometimes you just have one of those days where it's like, I don't know, I'm just having one of those days, so maybe you only do 1 or maybe you only do 2. But in essence, if you were really doing 3 exposures a day, I want to show you how these numbers actually work out to show you why this is actually a critically important part of the business for you to do it and then for you to duplicate it. So if you were doing 3 exposure a day, and by the way, just 5 days a week, don't expect you to work every single day. You know, that's not what we expect from you at all, but just 3 exposure a day, 5 days a week, then you'd be actually doing 15 exposures in a week. And we're going to show you what we mean when we're talking about exposure, but that's 15 exposures in a week. Now, over the course of 4 weeks, that's 60 exposures in a month, right? Okay, and then ultimately 60 exposures in a month, even if you're only closing 5%, which is, you know, a low percentage level. It really, really is. But let's just assume you're brand new and you're just starting this and you're doing a lot of things wrong. Even if you're only having a 5% success ratio, that's still 3 new personally sponsored distributors in a month, right? So if you had just gotten started right now and you went out and you were doing 3 exposures a day, 5 days a week, you know, that's 15 exposures a week times 4 weeks, 60 exposures, you're going to end up with 3 personally sponsored distributors in your business for the month if you're consistent. Now, here's what I want you to understand. The network marketing universe rewards consistency more than anything else. Consistency is what it's all about, because as you're going out there and you're doing these daily exposures, you start to get better at it. Listen, there's nothing I can teach you that could replace the experience that you get from being able to go out there and do this on a daily basis. Every time you're going out there, you start to get better and better and better. You start to realize, man, when I did it like this, people responded a lot better. Excuse me, guys, you didn't lose me having a coughing fit here. It's kind of weird, but sorry about that. So you start realizing that people are responding better when we're actually doing it a certain way. So wow, man, when I kind of talk to them like this, or when I approach them like this, they kind of responded better, and you get into a rhythm. That's why your ratio does not tend to stay the same. That's why your 5% ratio tends to go up to 7%, 8%, 10%, 15%, 20% for some people as you do this more consistently. So remember, nothing is rewarded better than consistency. Now, let's talk about duplication for a second. So you go out and now you've got these 3 team members, these 3 new PSDs. So you're in month 2 and they're going out and they're doing what you just did, right? You know, they're using a very simple exposure method, and there's 9, you know, those 3 doing 9 exposures a day. So 3 each, 9 a day times 5 days, that's 45 exposures in a week. 45 exposures over 4 weeks is 180 per month. And again, at just a 5% level, you're pulling in 9 new distributors onto your team. Now, keep in mind, some of you have already noticed that in this model, I assume that you did nothing right in month 2. That's not what you should do, right? But I'm just going to assume that you're one of those people who, once you got a few people in your team, you instantly switched over to management mode, phase 2, which you got out of phase 1, and now you did nothing. Okay, even if you did nothing, this is still going to be the result in your business. So now you've got these 9 new distributors in month 2 by people just going out and doing these exposures. And guys, you can start to see where this is going. You in month 1 got 3, and then 9, and it's just going to keep growing. At this 3, it gets 3. And if these numbers look familiar to you through 10 months, they should, right? They should look familiar to you because This is the exact numbers that we have in our 3 getting 3 example. So again, what I wanted to show you is how these numbers actually happen. In order for you to get those 3 distributors in your first month and then the 9 distributors in your second month, etc., it's about you going out there, committing the daily exposures, and then having that duplicate in your business. If you do that, the financial rewards, as you can see, are unparalleled. They're actually sick, in fact. And ultimately, this is a way that people can go out and earn a tremendous amount of money in network marketing. Specifically, this is a way you can go out and earn a tremendous amount of money in Alphei with this compensation plan structure, because that's what we reward. And this is residual income for those of you that are brand new to the company, just kind of seeing this training and maybe not even too familiar with the compensation plan yet. We're talking about some serious revenue potential. Now, why is it that every single person that's in the company has not gone out, if you've been in the company for 10 months or longer, has not gone out and actually done this, right? Why is it that they haven't all built up to this $442,890 per month, right? I mean, what's going on? How come that's not happening? Well, again, this is just the math, right? But you have to remember, and I tell people this all the time, when we look at these numbers are not just numbers, right? These numbers are people. And that's where it becomes important to understand, because when you're dealing with people, it's not just a calculator mathematical equation. There's other things that go into it, right? It's math plus mindset when you're looking to actually create duplication. And that's where a lot of things start to filter in, is what's going on with the mindset. What are the things that are preventing people from going out there and actually just taking advantage of Alphei, taking advantage of the compensation plan, really saying, man, with that kind of math, why don't I just go out and murder this thing and change my financial destiny forever? What are the things that are stopping people? Let's start talking about those things really quickly, and then let's start talking about what the experts understand and why it is they have these little 1%ers that allow them to kind of walk away from it. Here's the first thing, little word called no, right? And I mean, here's the thing. I know there are some of you right now who just seeing this word on the screen is like a vampire looking at a cross. I mean, it bothers you. You know, some of you are starting to turn your head away already. Take it off the screen, right? Because you have been psychologically negatively impacted by the word no. And you know, a lot of you think I'm joking, but here's the reality. You know, they've done a lot of studies on this. They said the average toddler hears the word no 400 times a day, and most of the times it's not being said with a very nice tone. It's their parents trying to protect them from all sorts of dangers. No, don't touch the stove. No, don't do that. No, don't run in the street. No, you know, there's all these ways that they've tried to protect them from all the dangers of the world by saying the word no. Now, here's the problem. They've also shown, though, that hearing the word no that much causes a psychological aversion to it. People hate the word no. By the time they get up into adulthood, some people are still victimized by that 400 times a day when they were a toddler of hearing this word. So a lot of people are terrified of it, and they have a phobia around it. So therefore, when they have to go into a business and they have to go into an environment where they have to approach people, expose people, give people a yes or no choice, and no is one of those choices, a lot of people are afraid to do it. They're afraid to do it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. So what people always try to figure out is, how can I go out and become successful in network marketing without ever feeling uncomfortable? The answer is you can't. In fact, I want to give you guys a quick little lesson about the comfort zone, because I don't think a lot of people really get it, but I know a lot of the people who are very successful at this business, they understand this completely and they totally get it. You know, your comfort zone, by definition, is what you are comfortable with. Within your comfort zone are all the things that you currently have in your life right now. So the amount of free time you have, your salary, if you're making $50,000 a year, that's within your comfort zone. The car you drive, the house you have, the vacations you're able to take with you and your family, the charitable contributions you're able to make, all of these things that you're doing right now, they're in your comfort zone. Even if you feel like you're struggling a little bit, that's okay, because you are obviously comfortable even with that little struggle that you're going through, because you're able to do it and you continue to do it. That's what's in your comfort zone. Now, here's what you need to realize about that. all the things that you want, the things that you most truly desire, they are outside of your comfort zone. By definition, if they were inside your comfort zone, you'd already have them. So all of these things are outside of your comfort zone. So maybe instead of free time, you want time freedom. Maybe instead of 50 grand a year, you want 25 grand a month. Instead of charitable contributions, you want your own foundation. Instead of a car, you want an automobile, right? You want a family estate instead of a house. You want to take a world tour instead of taking little 2-day vacations. All those things are outside of your comfort zone. The only way for you to actually get these things is to expand your comfort zone. That's it. That's the only way you can do it. Now, a lot of you say, well, that makes sense. I get that. What's so rocket sciencey about that? That makes perfect and total sense for me. All the things that I want that I don't have, they're outside of my comfort zone. And the only way I'm going to get them is to expand my comfort zone. Well, here's the bad news. The only way to expand your comfort zone is to exert consistent pressure on it. You have to be willing to do things that are uncomfortable. You have to. You can never, ever expand your comfort zone by being comfortable, right? So if you're afraid to talk to people, you have to talk to a whole lot of people because you got to overcome that fear. If you're afraid to talk in front of people, get in front of a big crowd of people and start talking. If you're afraid to hear the word no, go out and seek a whole bunch of no's. I promise you, in the process of seeking those no's, you're going to accidentally get a whole bunch of yeses at the same time. The point being, you cannot figure out a way to have all the things you want without being willing to be uncomfortable. So the people who are the most successful in this industry, they get it. They understand this. They understand, number one, is that we're very adaptable. So that's the great news about being a human being, right? We have an extraordinary ability to adapt, but they also understand that they are constantly going to seek to challenge their comfort zone. They're never going to sit back and say, I don't want to do that because I'm not comfortable with it. I don't want to do that because I'm not comfortable with it. In fact, when they see something they're uncomfortable with, they say, man, that's something I'm definitely going to do, because if I do that, it's going to allow me to accomplish things that I can't accomplish right now and have things that I can't have right now. That is the mindset of a network marketer. So guys, if you want to have the success you can get from this industry, it's going to be important that you start thinking like that. So back to the 1%ers though, with regards to going out there and exposing people. Here's one of the 1%ers that, again, professional network marketers understand very well. Some of you have heard this before, seen this before, but you may not really get it. You may not have really internalized it. But let's talk about communication, because at the end of the day, if you're exposing people, you're communicating with them, right? And communication is 55% body language, 38% tone, and only 7% words. I remember the first time I saw this, and the first time I was at a network marketing training and they explained this, the thing that blew me away was that it was only 7% words. That was the thing that blew me away the most, was that ultimately, you know, we spend all this time trying to figure out what to say when we should be spending more of our time trying to figure out how to say it, and also what our body is doing to project that, you know, to project out when we're actually saying it. That was a critical thing for me at the time. Now, the other critical thing is, as we've moved more into this technology age, where there's a lot of different technologies that are being used to communicate back and forth, where people are talking through webinars and on the phone and through all these things where they can't see each other. If you eliminate the body language out of it, all of these things, your tone and your words, become that much more important. But even still, tonality is always going to be more important even than what you're saying. And guys, when I do big giant trainings, we have weekends, we do all sorts of, you know, different classes on this, where we show people body language versus tone versus words, and how it actually breaks down for communication and how it affects people. You can say the exact same words, but in a different way with a different body language, and it communicates an entirely different message. The point being this: when you're out there and you're exposing people, guys, if you're not doing it confidently, if you're not projecting confidence through your body language, you're losing, okay? People say body language never whispers, it always screams, and it's true. You can't hide it. If you're not confident about what you're doing, if you don't believe what you're saying, okay, if you're not sold out on Alpha, on network marketing, it's going to come across in your body language. And a lot of the reasons why you're doing things, you say, I'm doing everything right, I'm saying exactly what you guys told me to say, it's because you're not saying it how we told you to say it, and you're not saying it with the belief behind it. That's a very, very, very big thing. And this is something that top recruiters and top earners understand. And they make sure that they teach it to people. They really do teach it. And they make sure they also emulate it themselves, that when they're out there, they're actually speaking with the confident body language. They're actually speaking with the right tone. And we're going to talk about the right tone here in a second. And then on top of that, they're using the right words. Here's the next thing. We understand that, again, everybody's not the same. I think hopefully if you guys got nothing out of last week or 2 weeks ago, the training that we did, you just got the fact that, hey, everybody's not the same. Everybody's not like me, right? And everybody's not like that person. Everybody's not like that person. There's a lot of different types of people out there, because once you understand that, it gives you, you're almost like a man amongst boys, if you will, or a woman amongst girls. I mean, you are in a different category, a different league in terms of understanding when you're out there trying to build a business, and you know going into it that everybody's not the same, but they're in these different categories, because it allows you to be able to become a master communicator when you're dealing with people based off of just identifying the type of person that they are. So here's another way that people just receive information differently. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, and some people are kinesthetic, right? And visual is, that's the majority of the people, 65%. That's why I tend to use a lot of little pictures like this that are bright and whatever. I mean, because at the end of the day, these kind of images will stick in a lot of people's minds. Some people, though, are auditory. So they're listening. They're really, really focused on the words, on the tone that is being used. And that's really what's going into their mental computer and allowing them to learn. But other people, about 5% of the people, are kinesthetic. And, the reason why it's showing a hand is because these people they learn by doing. They learn by touch, right? But the other way they learn is by feel. That's really the thing that drives them. So if you understand this, how does this information help you? Not just in ways that you teach people, but even in ways that you talk to people. And again, I normally do a training on this just as visual, auditory, kinesthetic that goes for a couple of hours, because we'll do workshops with it. But I just want to say one simple thing, just give you guys a 1% difference. When you're communicating with someone who's visual, the way that you can tell is because of the way that they speak to you. They'll say a lot of things like, do you see what I'm saying? Or can you see where I'm coming from? That's a visual person. And if you understand they're a visual person, you respond to them in kind. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I can definitely see what you're saying. Let me show you what I'm talking about, though. That's all visual stuff. Okay. Now, if you're speaking to somebody auditory, they'll say, do you hear what I'm saying? Do you hear me? They're going to say all these kind of stuff that all goes back to that, because that's how their brain works. Everything about learning, everything about communicating with them is all auditory. So you're going to respond to them in kind. Yeah, I can definitely hear you. Listen to what I have to say to you, though. It's going to all be in kind. Now, when you're speaking to someone kinesthetic, again, you might say, well, they're learning through doing. So how do I do this? But again, they also are all about feel. It's the reason why we have a hand up there is because it's doing and also feel. So when you're talking to someone who's kinesthetic, again, they'll say stuff like, do you feel what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Do you feel where I'm coming from? Can you feel me? That if you know people like that, they're kinesthetic people, and you have to respond to them in kind. The thing I like about kinesthetic people, though, is because they actually, once they feel something, they get really, really intent and really aggressive about it. I love taking kinesthetic people and getting them around other people, because the reality is they need that feeling. They need to basically feel the culture, the excitement, all these kind of things about what's going on. That is what gets them completely mentally engaged. And these people will be killers in your business, but you have to know how to treat them. So again, I'm not going to go into all the details. The reason why we're doing these trainings, though, is the first, identify for you that there are different types of people, because that's going to be critically important. When you're out there exposing them, the more of this information you have, their personality type, what type of learner they are, how to basically respond in kind, how to have these types of conversations with people, you're going to start to realize, again, over and over and over again, that now you are becoming better. You're just becoming better and better and better at this process. You're becoming better at exposing. You're becoming better at communicating with people. You're becoming a better recruiter, because you're getting more and more people to take a look at what you're talking about, and to take a look at it already looking for their solution and already excited about it, because they've already developed a connection with you. So that's really the reason why we're showing this, is to let you guys understand that there's a lot of little different 1%ers. And again, guys, I don't care if you just picked up one of them from this webinar tonight. It's going to make a big deal in your success in the business. Here's the other thing, though, that again, very successful network marketers understand. They understand that people are more impressed by the height of your enthusiasm than the depth of your knowledge, right? So, and they also understand that enthusiasm is caught, not taught. So here's what I mean. You got to be excited. You know, when we talk about tonality, right? What's the tonality that we're looking for is excitement. You know, at the end of the day, this one thing right here is actually more important than everything else that we just talked about. It's more important than 55% body language, 38% tone, 7% words. It's more important than whether it's visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And I'm going to tell you why. Because at the end of the day, people respond to excitement. You know, now what is excitement? It's got to be your version of excitement, okay? I don't mean that if you're normally a person who's super calm, super controlled, you're jumping up and down like this guy in the blue, because that's going to seem a little crazy, a little weird for you, okay? But for some people who are already kind of excitable, they might have to be jumping up and down for people to say, oh wow, this is, even for them, this is they're excited. What's going on? The reason why is because people want to be around that kind of thing. Enthusiasm is caught, not taught. When you're enthusiastic, it makes other people enthusiastic. It gets them excited, and they want to see where that excitement and enthusiasm is coming from. You know, I tell the story all the time that the very first network marketing meeting I ever went to, which was 20 plus years ago, I sat in a meeting. I got really fired up and really excited about what they were talking about this whole concept of residual income, and about the person who was doing the presentation and having the ability to work with them, and the fact they were about to open up Philadelphia, and I had the opportunity to be first. And I went back to work, and I basically talked about this, and I broke every network marketing rule that you can break. I was saying too much. I was saying a completely the wrong thing. I didn't understand the service. I was telling people something completely different because I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't understand the compensation plan. I was explaining it completely different because I didn't know what I was talking about, and it didn't matter. Still ended up with a few dozen people personally at that next meeting, simply because people responded to my excitement. I think a lot of them knew that I didn't know what I was talking about, but they were like, yeah, I never seen him like this before. I got to come down and see what has him tripping over his words, and I want to just see what's going on. And I got the people into the room to be exposed. And as a result, signed up a ton of people, at my very first meeting in network marketing that I was actually a distributor, more people than anybody else probably signed up in the company from the city over the next few months. I was able to sign up in that one day. Why? Because I was excited, because I was enthusiastic, and enthusiasm is caught, not taught, and people got it. If you just remember this one thing, just that alone, and you can go out there and you can be excited, and you can project that excitement to other people and get them excited, your business will grow far faster than it's ever been growing up until this point. Now, let's talk about this, though, because at the end of the day, you do have to say something, right? You can't just walk up with real positive body language and have a bunch of, and whistle at a great tone and people jump in your business. You do have to use some words, right? You do have to say something when you're networking with people. And the reason why I wanted to include this here is because, again, I've had the good fortune now to actually get to spend a lot of time with many of you on different events that we've actually done, and now also some different trips that we've gone out on. And I remember our most recent trip that I was on, which was in China. And I saw something that was pretty interesting, and I've seen it over and over again with different people across North America with Alfei. But it just kind of really jumped out to me here, and I want to tell you guys how it kind of went. We were in China, and we were out doing some sightseeing before we actually went to Nantong to the event. We were doing a bunch of sightseeing. And because we were doing a bunch of sightseeing and we were at a lot of tourist areas, there were times when we actually ran into people from other places, some of them from America, some of them from other English-speaking countries, and they could see that we were a group. And ultimately, the question always came up, hey, what do you guys do? Or what do you do? Or hey, I see you guys seem like what are you on a trip or something like that? And they would ask people what they did, and people gave the same answer. Now, I witnessed this 3 times in China. I've witnessed this dozens of times at different events that I've been involved in with Alfei. But I witnessed this 3 times in China, and it was interesting to me because when asked, what is it that you do, or what kind of company are you? When people say, "Hey, we're here on an incentive trip with my company Alfei," and they said, "Oh, what is Alfei?" Everybody gave the same exact answer. You guys can probably guess what that answer was. They said, "Alfei, I'm in a medicinal mushroom company." Everybody said the same exact thing. I'm in a medicinal mushroom company. And some of you are sitting there right now saying, yeah, well, what else would they say? Right? We are a medicinal mushroom company, right? So what else would they say? And what I witnessed was, hey, so what, we're with a company called Alpha, so we're over here on a sound show. Oh, really, really? What is Alpha? Oh, it's a medicinal mushroom company. Conversation was over. Every single time the conversation was over. Not one time did a person say, oh, wow, medicinal mushrooms. Yeah, I know a lot about those. That's exciting. Didn't happen. Not once did a person say, wow, what is a medicinal mushroom? The conversation was over. And I watched the distributors. It was actually kind of awkward for me. It was almost like watching your kid walk across the room at the school dance and try to ask somebody to dance, and the person said no, and now your kid's standing there like they're embarrassed. I mean, it was like it was just awkward because they didn't know what to do. It was just like, okay, well, that's awesome, guys. Have a good time, and people just walked away. And ultimately, I thought to myself, wow, I know this is what everybody's doing. And I know it's where a lot of people are struggling, is because it's not about the videos and the samples and all. It's how do I even get people to that step when I'm trying to generate interest. So guys, I want to give you guys some suggestions, and I'm going to give you two things that I've said multiple times in the industry, and they work perfectly in Alpha as well, by the way. Very, 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 very effective. And I want you to, and again, I don't need you to say these exact things if you don't want to, but I will say that I want you to get the idea of what I'm trying to do, which is, at the end of the day, you're trying to pique a person's interest, okay? So here's what you need to realize. There's not very many people on the planet right now who are walking around, especially from the Western part of the world, who are saying, what's lacking in my life? Medicinal mushrooms. If I had more medicinal mushrooms in my life, I would be happy. You know why? Because they've never heard of medicinal mushrooms yet, right? That's why. That's why I'm actually super excited about Alpha. Why I think we've got the best opportunity on the planet is because nobody's really heard of medicinal mushrooms yet. I think that's amazing, because I can imagine. It's almost like if you're sitting around, if you were at work right now at your job and you said, man, I've got a killer headache, somebody would say, hey, do you need some aspirin? Somebody would say it, because they automatically associate aspirin with getting rid of your headache. Well, guys, eventually we're going to get to a point where medicinal mushrooms become such a household name, when they become so popular, that you're going to be somebody's going to be sitting around and saying, man, I just don't feel right today. And somebody's going to say, did you take your mushrooms today? Now, when we get to that point, all the people who aggressively helped us get to that point, you're going to be super successful. I mean, that's going to be an awesome place to be, right? But it's going to take some time to get there. So right now, you got to go with the reality of where we are right now. And where we are right now, say it again, there's almost no one on the planet, on the Western, at least in the Western hemisphere, that is thinking to themselves, man, you know what I miss and what I need in my life? I need some medicinal mushrooms. So when you say medicinal mushroom company, you automatically have lost people, because they have no idea what the heck you're talking about, nor does it even sound like something that they feel like they need to know. It sounds like something very, very specific. Maybe you're a scientist, maybe you're, I don't know, maybe you're something, but it's not for me. It probably requires a special set of skills that I don't have. So this is what one of my favorite things to say to people when people say, what do you do? People say, hey, so what do you do? I always say, you know what? I'm a second income consultant. And I just shut up. And when I say that, I've never, and I'm gonna tell you guys something. You know what I mean? I've never said that to someone without a person saying, a second income consultant, what is that? Okay, because the reality is it's got the word income in it, first of all, right? And right away that gets people's attention. But the point is, it's something that people haven't heard of before, but it creates curiosity. So people say, well, what do you mean? What do you mean a second income consultant? And I say, well, hey, what do you do for a living? And they say, well, I'm an engineer. And I say, great. Well, you're an engineer and that's your primary income. And you may or may not know this, though, but there's a lot of people like you who have a primary income, but what they're finding is it doesn't allow them to have the lifestyle that they really want to have. So a lot of those people, even though they're perfectly happy with their full-time job, their primary income, they're looking for a second income to help give them the additional things in their life that they want. And what I do is I help people find that second income. In fact, I'm working with a company right now that has been very, very good at helping tons of people around the world do just that and be able to change their lives. So that's what I do. Now, at that point, only one of two things can happen. For a lot of people, they say, well, I mean, I'm interested in that, right away. And other people say, wow, that's cool. But the point is, at the end of the day, I'm putting it out there to them. I'm dangling the bait. If they say, well, hey, I mean, so how does that work? I mean, how does a person get that second income, or how does that work, or whatever? Well, now they've opened themselves, and I say, listen, I'm not sure, what your time schedule is like. I'm kind of running around right now. I'm spending some time here with my family, but why don't we exchange some information? And I've got a perfect little video that can actually explain things to you. Let's exchange information. I'll get the video sent over to you. You can see exactly what it is we do, how we work, and we can decide if it makes sense for us to work together. But now we've generated their interest, because you know what? Even though a lot of people aren't walking around thinking, what would make my life better? Some medicinal mushrooms. A lot of people are walking around saying, what would make my life better? Additional money. Additional money would make my life better. Remember, my only goal here is I'm not trying to recruit somebody in one instant when I just met them. My goal is to generate some interest that allows us to exchange information, so I can then go through the process that I shared with you guys a couple of weeks ago, where you're exposing someone right to the business, and it's a list, expose, follow up, sort. We're going through that whole process and doing that. So I'm a second income consultant. It's a great way to get people's attention. They're like, I never heard of that before. What's that? It gives you a way to kind of really give them an in to them saying they're interested. You can get their information, and now you can expose them. So that's one of the first things. And again, I don't need you guys to say this exactly, by the way. I'm just giving you guys an idea of what it is you're trying to do, which is pique interest, and why when you say I'm in a medicinal mushroom company, it's more times than not, it's just going to leave you cold. It's going to leave people saying, oh, great, that's awesome. And they're going to walk away, and you're going to miss an opportunity to basically contact someone who might become a big deal in your business. Here's the other thing I like to say. Alpha is a lifestyle engineering company. So people will say, so hey, what are you guys doing? So for me, so if I was in China and somebody said to me, so hey, what's going on? I see you guys you're in a group, and say, yeah, we're here with our company. We're with our company Alpha. Oh, really? What is Alpha? Oh, Alpha is a company that's perfected almost this concept of lifestyle engineering. What is that? What I've never heard lifestyle engineer. Like what is that? And it's like, oh, well, listen, I mean, I don't know what you do for a living. What do you do? I'm a doctor. Okay, well, great. You're a doctor. That's awesome. But here's what I want to tell you. There's a lot of people out there, maybe you even know some of them, who they're finding that even though they have a full-time career, even though they have a full-time job, even some of them are making decent money, what they're finding is that they don't have either the time and or the money to basically have the dream lifestyle that they really want. So what Alpha does is it shows people, without disrupting their current life, right, how to basically engineer that dream lifestyle. They're very, very good at it. They've actually helped literally tons and tons of people do that all around the world. I'm excited about it because now they're bringing those concepts into North America, and they're helping people engineer those dream lifestyles as well. I mean, I don't know if you know anybody who would be interested in something like that, but if you do, I'd love to meet them. Now, and then shut up. So again, at that point, it's not that everybody you say this to is going to say, oh, sign me up. But a lot of people are going to say, that's interesting. Like, I've got some questions about that, or exactly how does that work? Or, would it work for someone like me? Or what's the requirements for somebody? And you say, you know what, those are some great questions. Listen, I'm right in the middle of something. I'm kind of late for something, but I'll tell you what. Let's exchange information. I'd love to actually send you something that can, quick short little video that explains everything. You can watch that, and then we can decide if it makes sense for us to work together. And again, what you've done is you've created some interest. Lifestyle engineering, second income consultant. Again, guys, you don't have to say these things, but what I am saying is this: you want to start coming up with something that you can say, and you can say it with some energy and some excitement. That is going to get people to actually be interested in hearing about what you're doing. Doesn't mean they're going to sign up right there on the spot. That's not how it works. But what it does mean is that they're going to actually have some questions, going to pique their interest, going to get their curiosity, which gives you the ability to say, let's exchange information. And then ultimately it gives you the ability to actually expose them into the business. So I hope that helps you guys. Again, I hate that awkward feeling that I had that I've been witnessing a lot around the country. And I just want to give you guys some options. You can figure out what you want to do. I had a friend in another company. He's the best recruiter that I've ever seen. He's old school. He's older than me, and he's been around the industry for a very, very long time. But I noticed in another company that I was with, where I was actually doing a lot of the training and a lot of the presentation for the company, I was looking at the fact this guy was not only the #1 earner in the company, he was not only the #1 recruiter in the company, but he also had the biggest team from a geographic standpoint. He had people in every single marketplace that our company was in. And what I started to do was I started to really pay attention. And I remember I flew out to Las Vegas, and he was living in New York, but he was originally from Vegas. So he offered to show me around. He said, "Hey, Brian, man, hey, come out here. You haven't seen Vegas. You've seen it with me. Forget all this on the strip stuff. I'm going to show you around Las Vegas so you can really appreciate the city." And I flew out there, and we got to spend some time together. And it was the coolest thing for me because I really got to see him in action. And I remember flying in there. I flew in on a Friday. We had a Saturday presentation we're going to do, and we went around on Friday. He took me to a couple there, to a restaurant. We stopped. He had to stop at the bank to do something. Went to different places. We were staying at a hotel, and this guy he talked to everybody. And he had the same line that he would use on everybody. He'd say, "Hey, listen, perfect example. We went to the valet, and we were getting, we were waiting for his car, and we were at the person who actually works at the valet desk. Doesn't actually go drive the cars, but she actually works at the desk and kind of coordinates the whole valet thing." And he said, "Hey, listen, maybe you can help me." He said, "I'm from New York. Do you live here in Vegas?" And she said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, "Great." He said, "Listen, I actually flew in for the weekend. My business is actually expanding, and my company is expanding into the Las Vegas area. And we're looking for some people who might want to help us out here locally. Because I'm going to have to go back to New York, but we're looking for some people who live in the area who can maybe help us out locally." And he said, "I don't know if you know anyone, but if you do know anyone who might be interested in making maybe a few $1,000s a month, or maybe even up to a few $1,000s a week, I'd love to actually talk to them." And right away, everybody he said that to. So he said that to the person there. He said it to a couple of people at the restaurant. He said it to a teller when we were at the bank. All these people were like, "Yeah, I do know someone, me." And he said, "Well, great. Listen, here's what's going on. Let's exchange some information. We're actually having an invitation-only event tomorrow. I'd love to actually have you come there and be my guest if you can guarantee me that you're going to make it, because seating is limited. But yeah, maybe you can hear about what's going on, and we can figure out if it makes sense for us to work together." And what was amazing to me was I watched him do that, and then I watched all these people show up at the meeting tomorrow. So I'm doing the meeting, and I see all these people sitting on the front row that I met when I was with him, that he did not know 24 hours prior, but they're all sitting on the front row. They're all excited. Now, what was even better about that was after a lot of these people signed up, I came back to Las Vegas about 3 weeks later to do a follow-up meeting for the team that was there. He was back in Vegas, and not only was he back in Vegas, but now he was introducing me. So we had a bank teller, and I don't remember the bank teller's name, but let's say the bank teller's name was John. He was like, "Brian, I want to introduce you to somebody here. This is Paul. I don't know if you remember, but a few weeks ago, John, who was the teller at the bank, he actually came out. He got excited. He got started. But Paul is John's regional manager." And John, introduced Paul to me, and Paul and I have been talking, and Paul really wanted to come out and see what was going on. So what he was really good at was getting into people's list and recruiting up. So he was good at getting these people excited, didn't know them, having them come down, getting them to sign up, and then working right and teaching them to recruit up right away and putting them in position to win, but actually getting to the sharpest people on their list. And he did this in city after city after city. Every city I was flying into, I was hitting about 3 cities a month. He was actually flying into the cities, and he was actually he had brand new people, local people, every single city that I went into, and he was doing the same method, and that's why he was the #1 earner. So again, guys, you got to get good at piquing people's interest. Okay, you want them to take a look at the information, pique their interest first, do a good job at that, and then you're going to be in position to be able to go out there and have more people looking at the business. Now, remember, recruiting is a process. It is not an event. Okay, it's a process, it's not an event. So when you meet someone, you're not trying to get them to actually sign up right on that spot. It's not going to happen like that. You're just trying to get them to take a look. Take a look at what? Take a look at a video, and then we can progress into maybe a 3-way call or PBR, live meeting, training, etc. Now, the biggest question I get though, whenever I say this to people, they say, "Yeah, but what's the best video to use? You know, I know there's people sitting there right now saying, yeah, what is the best video to use, right? And I always tell people the same thing. Use the Balanced Life video that the company puts out. Why? It's simple. Okay, number one is it's duplicatable because it's from the company. So everybody, whether they're 20 levels down from you, 30,000 miles away, whatever, they're going to have access to that video. They're never going to have to, you don't have to worry about sharing it with them or showing them a special place where you keep your videos and your web. They're always going to have access to it because it's from the company. But the other thing is it's the highest quality video. And when I say quality, I'm just talking about pure quality of video production. Okay, it doesn't look like it was made by a distributor, right? It looks like it was made by an actual video production company. That makes a big difference when you're talking to someone about changing their life and about financial stuff. Now, here's what I want you to understand, though. People say, well, but there's these other videos that I really like. There's a video. I'm a science person. I like all the details in the science, and there's a science video that I really, really like that's out there. So why can't I use that, or why shouldn't I use that? So guys, let me explain something to you, because I've seen a lot of the other videos that have been made, and some of them are really, really good. I don't have a problem with those videos that are really, really good. Here's what I do have a problem with, though, is they're very, very targeted to just one type of person. So you like it because you're an urchin, and it's an urchin video. So you're like, this speaks to me far better than the Balanced Life video. There's only a couple of times in there when they're talking about all the facts, which is appealing to me. When they start talking about money and helping people and fun, they're just losing me, right? So what you're doing is you're showing up at the lake with a very specific type of fishing rod, with a very specific type of hook, and a very specific type of bait, looking for a very specific type of fish, right? Now, a network marketer would never do that. They would never do that. A network marketer shows up at the lake with a giant net because they're trying to catch as many different types of fish as they can, because they understand in this case that these fish being distributors, right? More distributors equals more customers equals more money. And they understand that. And they're not trying to do it in onesies and twosies, or let's look for this one little certain person that fits this perfect niche. They're going out there and saying, hey, we want to catch as many as we can. So they're offering people, again, tools that speak to all different types of fish so that they can catch all different types of fish. You have to start thinking like a network marketer. Understand something, guys. Once you actually go out and you expose somebody, remember, it's a process, not an event. So you expose somebody to a video and they say, man, and you say, hey, what did you like best about that? And they say, hey, I like the fact that it looks like there's a lot of science behind these products, but I'd like to learn more about it. Then you send that person that science video that you're in love with, because now that's going to speak directly to them. But why would that be your first video when it's going to turn off all the other types of fish? So again, don't think fishing rod, think net. Guys, if your organization, if your business, if everybody on your team is exactly like you, you're building the business completely wrong. I want you to know that. So if you're, if everybody on your team, if they're, the same gender, same nationality, same religion, same level of education, they all like the same types of TV shows. Listen, you're not building your business like a network marketer. Network marketers, they want everybody on their team. They want the most diverse team possible. Here's why: because they realize that the world is super diverse, and they know that people want to be around people like themselves. So the more people and the more diversity they have on their team, the more people they can introduce new people to that are like them, that make them say, hey, oh, there's another green guy doing it, I'm in. There's another red guy doing it, I'm in. Whatever green and red is, doctors, lawyers, whatever, they're saying that. When you're building this team and everybody is exactly like you, you are being very limited in your thinking. And this starts by the way that you expose people. It starts by the tools that you're using to expose people. And it starts with event mentality. I hope I'm not offending anyone. I just want to be real with you guys, because I want you guys to build the biggest possible business. When you look at those numbers that you need on your team to make $20,000 a month, $30,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, you realize that you don't have time to go out there and be picky looking for one particular fish out of an entire school of fish. You have to go catch as many as you can. guys. And if you start thinking that way, you'll start building your business a lot more effectively. Now, back to this, okay? So hopefully that answers the what video do I use question. What I'm basically saying to you is all those other videos that you like that are very, very specific to specific types of people, put them in your toolbox, okay? As you start coming across those people, as people start saying, hey, well, you know, what I like most was the money, and you've got a money video that you love, now you send them to the money video, right? If they like the science, you send them to the science video, but you want to open up with the video that's going to be the biggest possible net to capture them. Now, the other thing that starts to happen is as we move through this process, we're ultimately trying to get people to some type of live meeting. If a person's not signing up, you want to get them some type of live meeting because they want to know that it's not just you and them building the business. There's other people doing it. And a lot of people think that, you know, they struggle with this. Well, what is the live meeting? The live meeting can be a lot of different things, guys. It could be a hotel meeting or a Zoom call or a webinar or a conference call. I'm not going to get into the merits of all these different things and what the numbers and the statistics are of how they close. But listen, I could, but I'm not going to for the purpose of this training because we're running short on time. But here's what I'm going to say to you. You know, if you want to really build a culture, you know, you got to understand that how the average person thinks. The average person has grown up hearing in their entire life that, you know, there's safety in numbers. You know what I mean? Go with the flow, you know, go with the masses, right? They've heard that. So ultimately, when they actually dial into a conference call or a webinar or a Zoom call or they go to a hotel meeting, the more people that are there, the more likely they are to join. It's got nothing to do with the information. And that's what's interesting. It's the more people that are there, the more likely they are to join. It's an amazing, amazing thing with the psychology of people. It's like if all these people are doing it, there's got to be something happening. I'm in. That's exactly how I feel. And I've seen this happen at hotel meetings. As we built really big teams, we would hit a point where once we got to a certain size, then it just exploded. And the reason why it exploded was because as people started to show up and they saw a couple of hundred people standing in the hallway waiting to get in the meeting, they were like right away, I don't know what the heck's going on, but I'm in. Didn't even matter what the presenter said almost. It was like, I'm in. This has got to be working because look at all these people. That's how people think. So guys, we do a conference call every Wednesday night. We do a conference call. And Anton, I know you're probably on this training, man. Thank you so much for all your commitment to that call. You know, but I'll just say this to you guys. I want you to think about this for a moment. If when people dialed into that conference call, you know, they heard 100 people chiming in from all over North America. You know, this is such and such from Vancouver, such and such from Toronto, such and such from Montreal, such and such from Minnesota, such and such, you know, from Louisiana, from Missouri, from Ohio, from Philly, if they heard that just coming in, like, in fact, so many people chiming in that you couldn't even understand what everybody was saying, right? Then the guests that were on that call right at that point, they would be pretty much in before the speaker even started speaking, because the reality was they'd say, man, with all this excitement going on, if all these people are in and all these people are excited, something's happening, I want to be a part of this. I say that because you as distributors, you have 100% control over whether that happens or not. You know, I know a lot of people will say, well, you know, I'm only going to get on the meeting, I'm only going to get on a conference call if I have a guest with me. And I remember one time I didn't show up at our weekly, our hotel meeting early on in my network marketing career because I didn't have any guests. And when my mentor saw me at the next meeting, he said, hey, where were you last week? And I said, oh, I didn't have any guests, so I didn't show up. He said, really? He said, let me ask you a question. You got a guest tonight though, right? And I said, yeah, I'm really excited about this guy. You know, he's a player. He's my red, blah, 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 blah. He said, okay, great. So what if when you showed up with your guy tonight, everybody else had decided not to show up? How would you feel about that? And I was like, I'd be pretty pissed. And he said, and how do you think your guest would feel walking into an empty room? And I said, he'd feel like nothing was going on. He said, yeah, Brian, if you're having a good week, the meeting needs you, okay? But if you're having a bad week, you need the meeting. So either way, you need to be here. And guys, I'm telling you, it was one of the most profound things I ever learned in the industry about how you can create an environment just by being there that makes it something that people want to be a part of. That makes it grow. And if you help other people do it, if you're showing up all the time and you're chiming in all the time and you're doing that and you're creating that buzz, that hysteria, when you're doing it for other people, it will start to be done for you. And that's when your business is really going to grow. So we could talk about that a little bit more in detail later, but I just wanted to kind of tap you guys on the shoulder on that. The final thing I want to talk about here before we actually wrap up is that people don't buy logically, they buy emotionally. right? It's just a fact. Reason. When you give people a bunch of facts, that invites reason. When you get people into an emotional state, that invites action. And at the end of the day, when we're talking to people, whether it's to become customers or distributors, we're asking them to make a buying decision. So I want to tell you guys, you've heard this before, facts tell, but stories sell. So when you're approaching people, or even when you're following up with people who you approached before, and I know that's a big question that I get for people, which is, hey, I know you said follow up, but how do I follow up? What do I say to people when I'm talking to them? I want to tell you guys something that facts tell, but stories sell. So for instance, if somebody said to you, hey, so this Alfie thing, why would I want to do this? You could say, well, hey, all I know is this. I went out and I helped, some people actually become healthier by actually offering our products and kind of get onto that road. And I helped some other people actually start dealing with some of their financial concerns by actually introducing them to the Alfie business opportunity. And my reward was I got to fly down on an all expense paid trip to Puerto Vallarta. We walked into the hotel. They greeted us with free margaritas and free massages right away. And then we got to actually spend time together with about 40 or 50 of my closest friends, actually almost 100 people in Puerto Vallarta. And we were able to do that in one of the most beautiful places in the world. So I don't know if, and when you walk into your job, they're giving you free margaritas and massages, but that's what they're doing here with Alfie. So that might be why you want to do this. That's far more effective than trying to explain a compensation plan. Trying to explain the polysaccharide count in the product, right? That's far more effective because facts tell, but stories sell. If somebody says, hey, well, you told me about that lifestyle engineering thing, but what kind of lifestyle could I really have? And you said, well, all I know is that, I just came back from China, got to hike on the Great Wall of China. That was one of my big bucket list items. Got to check that off. Got to go to the Forbidden City, which was really, really cool. Able to do that and kind of experience all that history, experience all that culture. And I'm telling you, man, I'm at a point in my life where I'm tired of sitting back watching people on TV have all these incredible lifestyle experiences. Here with Alfie, able to go to China, talking about going to Bali, Dubai, New Zealand, Australia. These are just a handful of the things they've got planned here in the near future, and I'm going to be able to check them off my bucket list, man. And I'd love to be able to do it with you. But again, that's the type of lifestyle that we're talking about. Far more effective than basically trying to give them some facts and some figures, right? If somebody said, hey, what's the vision for Alfie? I mean, what are they trying to do here in North America? Let me tell you something. All I know is that, I was just over, in an open air soccer stadium with 25,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs because they were just super fired up and excited. In fact, I was actually invited up on stage to be in front of those 25,000 people because we made the trip from North America, and because those 25,000 people were excited for us because they knew what was about to happen in North America. Alfie's created over 350 millionaires over there in China, over 10,000 people making six figures a year, and they believe they can meet or exceed those goals here in North America, and we're at the forefront of it. So when we finally get to that point, we've got 25,000 people in the stadium. The people like us who are hearing about this first, and like you're hearing about it first right now, you can only imagine where you're going to be at that point. So that's really the vision for North America. Far more effective than trying to give them some details, some facts, right? So how do I know this works? Well, hey, listen. I'm sitting there, I'm watching these guys give away 74 luxury cars, over a dozen luxury homes, inviting people on the stage to get hundreds of thousands of dollars in bonuses. In fact, one guy got a bonus for $1.6 million as a bonus just for the year. And again, that was just for the year. And that guy's not even at the top position in this company. If that doesn't mean it works, I don't know what works. I don't know what your definition of what works is. And guys, here's the thing, even when you're telling stories, it doesn't just have to be about money. It doesn't have to be about, just money and success and traveling. Somebody might say to you, they might say, well, listen, I mean, the companies in China, I mean, are products in China safe? Is Alfie, are they using quality ingredients of their products safe? And you're like, hey, man, all I know is we wanted to go in to just see the products. We weren't going to be able to touch anything. We weren't going to be able to interact with anything, but just to be able to go see them. Man, they put us in these crazy outfits. We had to put things over our feet, things over our head. We had to wear these blue smocks, and then they sent us into this decontamination unit where it hits us with air from all different directions to decontaminate us, just so we could walk in and see the place. Guys, they are using the highest quality ingredients. They're going above and beyond with every type of safety and security measure you can imagine. At the end of the day, yes, this company is doing everything from a safety standpoint. That's all I know. Now, you guys might be sitting there right now and saying, man, well, that's awesome. For the people who got to go to China, the people who went to Puerto Vallarta, the people who went to Cancun, that's awesome for them. But I haven't been able to do that. So what you could say is, listen, all I know is a friend of mine told me that they were just over it, and you could tell the same exact stories. But what it also means is that you got to actually work on building your story. You know, guys, we're ultimately have an incentive trip going for the Riviera Maya right now, and you got to go out and do whatever is necessary to get here so you can have the stories to tell. You know, maybe you don't like the sun, maybe you don't like the beach, maybe you don't like dolphins, you know, maybe you don't like just kind of being able to sit back and get margaritas and free massages. Well, sacrifice, do this stuff even though you don't like it, so you can build your story, and you can build a story of the people on your team, so you guys can ultimately go out and be able to have this success and be able to tell these stories. As you're doing these things, having these experiences, that's going to put you in a position where you can tell more and more stories. The more stories you tell, the less facts you have to worry about. You can just tell the stories. That's going to get people into a level of emotion. That's going to make people actually say they're going to make a buying decision, and that's going to actually give you guys more success in the business. Final thing I want to say is this. People ask me these questions all the time. You know, well, okay, I know about how we're supposed to expose people, and you know, but what about like doing like advanced lead funnels and advanced level social media campaigns? Or what about advertising in the newspaper? Alpha Fever grips the city. Or what about, you know, running some magazine ads, Lindsay Life, residuals fly? What about all that stuff? You know, can we do that stuff? Here's what I will tell you. My mentor told me, he said, pretty simple. He said, you know what? I'm not going to get into trying to litigate with you all the other things you could do, what works, what doesn't work, what's this, what's that. He said, here's what I want to tell you. Anything that you do, instead, that's not what we're asking you to do, which we know is proven, which we know is duplicable, which we know actually grows massive organizations, right? It should be in addition to and never instead of. You know, and that's what I want to say to you guys, because I know these questions come into me all the time, so I just want to address it. It should always be in addition to and never instead of. Okay, none of these things are a replacement for doing the business the way we're talking about doing the business. If in addition to this, because you have some special skill level with social media, you want to actually run some social media campaigns, you know, that's fine. But here's what I will tell you. You know, the more things you do outside of the system, the more things you're doing that require special training, special ability, special levels of support, all these kind of things. And it can become very, very complicated. It's very, very hard for a person to be able to do a lot of these things successfully, and they don't end up getting the organization. Sometimes you can become a top recruiter, but you're, you know, again, 100 wide and only one level deep, because again, you can't duplicate, you can't get the leverage system going that you need to be able to build an organization. The things we're teaching you, how to build a business, how to approach people, you know, the list, expose, follow up, sort, all those things, those are the things that will allow you to build a big organization, because those are the things that everyone can do. So if you want to do anything else, it should be in addition to, not instead of. I hope you guys can get that. The most important things about exposures is that they're happening. Guys, at the end of the day, you know, you should ask yourself the same question at the end of every single day. You should look in the mirror before you go to bed, and you should say, if everyone in my Alpha business did what I did today, how is my business doing? There's going to be some days you're going to smile, and there's going to be some days you're going to cry, right? And in reality, in the beginning, you're going to have more crying days than smiling days. But I promise you this, the days that you smile is going to be because you know that you went out and you exposed a bunch of people today. And you're going to say, man, if everybody in my business went out and exposed the kind of as many people today as I did today, my business is going to explode. Remember, you can't control what other people can do, but you can become an example for them by making sure that you're controlling what you do. And you should be out there every single day, at least 5 days a week, exposing people in a duplicable manner, and then following up with those people so that you can sort them into the proper category, act accordingly, get them back into the same process, making a list, expose, follow up, sort, and you guys will explode your business here in Alpha. Guys, with that being said, again, it's a pleasure for me to be able to do these trainings because again, I do like kind of being able to share some of the experience that I've had in the industry with you guys. And I like seeing the results too, you know, in your numbers as we start seeing people going out and being more productive in the business. But again, it's always about the feedback. I apologize, we don't have the feedback slide here, but we do want your feedback all the time. So for those of you that don't have my email address, it's very simple. It's brian.lyles@alpha.com. So Brian is BRIAN. Lyles is LYLES at alpha.com. I'm not going to spell Alpha for you. If you can't spell it, it's on the screen. But brian.lyles at alpha.com. Love to get your feedback on the training. Love to hear if you have any questions. As you can see, I'm trying to answer a lot of the questions as we get to the next training pieces and work them in. And if you got some suggestions for some things that you want to see or some insights that you've had, have had a chance to read a lot of your emails, keep them coming, guys. And we're going to keep keep building this training to be more and more effective for you and get you guys to the top of the compensation plan. So with that being said, thanks so much for your time, guys. As always, God bless. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Our next training will actually be in 2 weeks, which I believe is Thursday the 14th. So we're looking forward to actually spending some time with you guys again, and we'll actually see you then. God bless, guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening.